Hello and welcome to the UniqCast Streaming Chunks podcast, where we dive into the world of video streaming. I'm your host, Ivan, and joining me today is my co-host, Domagoj. Together, we'll be discussing the topic of legacy replacement projects in the IPTV and OTT industries. We're also excited to have Marko Hiti, CMO at UniqCast, who is also an expert in the field, as our special guest. Welcome, Marko.
Thank you, Ivan, and welcome, Marko. It's great to be back. Legacy replacement projects can be quite daunting, but they also present exciting opportunities for broadcasters, mobile operators, OTT providers, and many others in the industry. Today, we are eager to learn more from Marko's expertise. Marko, I know you already worked on legacy replacement projects in the past. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Thank you, Domagoj. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this podcast, and I'm happy to be here. I hope that we will give some useful information to our audience. And yes, being in this industry for more than 15 years, I've seen many different replacement projects. There were different generations of platforms or middlewares. And, after some years, these platforms get outdated and then operators have some reasons to replace them. So as I said, today we will try to give some insight in this type of projects.
This will be definitely interesting. So Marko, let's start by understanding the key challenges that organizations face when they consider about project of replacement of their legacy platforms. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, of course. This is an interesting question. So I think the idea is similar on all these kind of projects. So, at the beginning, operator decides for a vendor, for platform, technology, build everything together. At the end, they have a working service. But then over the years, there can be several different challenges. So, first of all, if you have some big vendor, then maybe during the years, they stopped providing good support, or platform get old and there is a lack of features, or maybe lack of flexibility, or operator got so many new customers that platform cannot handle. But at the end, everything goes to this technical thing that platform is not competitive anymore. So either lack of features or some technical problems are preventing operator to grow or to provide competitive service to their users. Especially now with all these global video streaming services, so users demand more and more, even better user experience, additional personalization, quick content discovery, seamless delivery. So at the end, operator needs a modern, flexible platform to compete. And in many cases, how I see, some old or legacy platforms are not capable to handle these requirements. And here then we came to situation when operator decides that replacement is the best option.
Yeah, because I think that the new customers, actually, the new platforms basically allow them to be more, let's say, up to date with the technology and everything else. That's a great point.
Oh, that was a perfect explanation. But can you just touch point a little bit on what would you say the cost savings and improved operational efficiency, the importance of those factors? Would you say that cost savings are important when considering legacy replacement projects?
Yes, definitely. I saw cases where this was the main reason why operator wanted to replace the legacy platform. So If you look back, I mean, having technology 10 or even more years old, this cannot compete with some modern platforms that are based on cloud, native cloud ready technology with virtualization and microservices and everything, and with additional tools for troubleshooting or seamless upgrades and so on. So there are many cases where it's hard to maintain such old platforms. So one point can be from the hardware perspective, but also from the software perspective and lack of some operational or troubleshooting tools and so on. So in many cases, a new platform can help decreasing the operational cost or support cost, and this is for sure important factor for every operator.
Mhm. And when we talk about technology, so basically there are a couple of components also with for the every video service. So from the hardware perspective, let's say the head-end system, distribution, the streaming, the CDN, the client applications, and everything else. What would you think are the most common components that are that operators need to think about when they consider about legacy replacement? Is there any let's say priority what they can do, or is it maybe are there any, let's say, things that they should consider overall?
Well, I mean, at the end, at one point in time, every system would need to be replaced, right? But you can structure it or separate in different building blocks. So first thing is maybe video head end with receivers, encoders. So this is quite independent, and it's also the easiest part that can be replaced without big challenges. I mean, you simply select new vendor, test the equipment, make sure that the delivered output streams are compatible with your set-top boxes, with your streaming servers, and so on. And then you can build new encoders in parallel. So this is not so complex and risky task. The second part is the middleware or content subscriber management system, which usually goes together with the client applications. I think this is the most crucial and also the most complex part of the replacement. So here you have on one end you have the client applications that have direct influence to the end users, and you have the backend platform which needs to be flexible to add new features, to support new integrations, and so on. And this, in my opinion, this is the biggest challenge for the operator. Then the third part is the streaming itself, so delivery of the video content to the end users. This in some cases can be done in parallel. In some cases, you get streaming already together with the OTT platform. So then it depends case by case. But yeah, these are the building blocks that I see.
It's fascinating to see how all these pieces fit together. But would you say there are some additional technologies that operators should consider when embarking on a legacy replacement project?
Well,
in addition to the core components, like integrations or something like that.
Yes. So definitely integrations are important part. I mean, when you select the new platform, you need to make sure that it will fit in your whole ecosystem. I mean, we just listed the IPTV or OTT components, but you have their I don't know, EPG providers, you have VOD providers, you have different metadata formats, you have billing and CRM, maybe you have some business intelligence systems. So there can be many surrounding systems that rely on the IPTV OTT platform, or they are providing data or content to the platform. So you need to make sure that new platform will fit in this ecosystem and that it will be integrated properly. So platform should have some open APIs that you can integrate and even give you some integration options for the future. Also, I mean, what I believe it's important that the new platform should have cloud native architecture so that you have better flexibility, scalability. So even though that you install it on site, you don't want to be dependent on some proprietary hardware or not be able to easily scale when the number of users will grow. Yeah, maybe additional point, in some cases, we see there are operators that are having also DVB set-top boxes, or I mean hybrid set-top boxes. So you need to consider this as well, that new platform should support the DVB set-top boxes as well. At the end, more related to the streaming part, I believe it's important that you have a platform where you can build your private CDN and you are able to leverage your existing network and save on the bandwidth cost. And in some cases where you offer service globally, that you are able to use also public CDNs and that you are able to scale with these public CDNs. So I think these are some additional points that needs to be considered.
Wow, that's quite extensive, actually, and great information for anybody listening to this podcast. But can you tell us how can operators actually ensure a successful legacy replacement project?
Well, I mean, first, it's important that they analyze the situation and clearly define their goals. So what they would like to achieve. Is it, I don't know, user experience that they want to improve? Is it lack of some features and they would like to add some new features that would make them more competitive? Is it, I don't know, support that they are not satisfied with, or some issues with the set-top boxes? Or I don't know, sometimes can happen that old platform cannot support new set-top boxes anymore and you are stuck with some old set-top boxes that don't have enough performance to offer new features. So it's important that at the beginning you write all these things down, define your priorities, and then prepare a plan on which things to focus. Yeah, after initial research, I think it's important to include also all the stakeholders so that everybody is aware what are the goals, what is the high level investment needed, what are the approximate timelines, so that everybody inside the company is on the same level.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that planning is the key here, because these projects are very complex. So it's sometimes, if you don't have everything, let's say, written in paper, and if you don't have a good plan, then definitely the decision making process can be very complex. Nevertheless, I think that these kind of projects are big, and but usually what we can see, that there are lots of concerns. Operators have lots of concerns about the risks which are actually related to this legacy replacement projects. Marko, how can operators overcome these barriers and make more informed decision? How can they handle this kind of risks?
Well, first of all, I mean, yes, I agree with you. On the paper, such replacement projects look, I don't know, big and risky, and you can easily get scared and not doing nothing. But from my experience, this is not always the case, or in most of the cases, things can be simplified and you can minimize the risks and do it in a way that can be done maybe even in phases, or you can do it, I mean, not in years, but in few months. Especially with the cloud, I mean, getting maybe temporary service from the cloud and then deploying on-site solutions. So there are different combinations that you can do to simplify things, to minimize risk.
Yeah, definitely. There is a, as mentioned, if the things look complicated, they don't have to be complicated. If you plan everything, as you mentioned, some of the things can be, let's say, simplified. I think that this is a crucial also advice.
There is also one more thing about these risks and cost. It's a good question when or how operator should know that they should do the replacement. To me, the most indicative factor is when you want to do the upgrade of your existing platform in order to get some new features or solve some problems, and then you see that cost of this upgrade is same or higher than going with the new platform, and that it will take same amount of time or maybe even more time than starting a new platform. When this happens, then you are sure that a risk staying with such platform is much higher than going to the new platform. And once you are okay with such thinking, then it's just a matter that you sit down, write the plan, discuss with different vendors, and then select the one that fits the best in your situation.
Well, that's actually great advice again, Marko. And as operators actually approach the deployment phase, what factors should they consider to ensure a smooth transition to the new platforms?
Well, okay. I mean, there are the standard things like, project management, communication, collaboration. I mean, of course, this is important, but this is the same like on any other IPTV project. It's a good, I mean, starting from the goals that they define at the beginning, you should sit down with the selected vendor and then prepare a valid and realistic project plan, and then see how it fits to the shareholders' expectations. I mean, of course, you need to spend or reserve time for testing and some fine-tuning at the end, and defining migration procedures, testing migration procedures. This is all important. What you should be aware is also that you are changing with new platform. In many cases, you are changing user interface for end users, and this usually is a big and dramatic change for a lot of users. So you should be careful that with new user interface they get also some benefits, because otherwise, if you just change user interface with something different that they're not used to navigate, you will get many complaints from the end users. So it's important to offer them some new cool features that really give value to users, and also try to not do dramatic changes if not needed, or at least do it in the phases on the UI side. So, I mean, what I see from my experience on several projects, we went with approach to offer really advanced and new user interface on the new boxes and try to keep similar interface on the old boxes, and then gradually adding new features.
That all sounds great, but do you think is there anything else an operator can do to minimize risk?
Well, what is good thing at replacement project that usually this is always done in parallel. So you can always install new platform in parallel to the existing one. So this means that you will first install it, test it, make sure that it works for the new users, that it works for new set-top boxes, that all the new features work, that it's integrated with all your CRMs and other additional systems. And then you can prepare the migration procedures, and then you can start testing on some smaller number of users, and then you test the migration procedure on smaller number of users, and then once you are ready, then you start the real migration. This is definitely the way to go to minimize risk. In addition to that, I mean, if you can even start from the cloud without having on-site platform. And then other things depend on the level of replacement that you want to do. So you can do full replacement of everything, or for example, if you have IPTV set-top box, you can, or DVB set-top box, you can decide to keep these users as they are, prepare new platform in parallel, and then start offering OTT services or new set-top boxes on this new platform, and gradually migrate old users from the old platform to the new one over time. And of course, with new OTT devices like smart TVs and mobile devices, you can always start just OTT service in parallel. When you want to keep your existing old set-top boxes with the new platform as well, then you go with the procedure like I mentioned at the beginning, so that you test it well, prepare migration procedures, and then you start.
That's a cool point, yeah. Marko, before we conclude, you mentioned this several project that you have been working on. Could you maybe share some success stories from your experience in the legacy replacement? How have operators benefited from these transitions?
Well, in all the cases that we did now lately, they clearly benefited in terms of satisfaction of their customers. I mean, we provided the modern user interface, very, I would say, premium user experience with simple and easy to use navigation, with better content discovery. So on the client side, there were really big advantages for the end users, and users prove that after some time. So it always takes some time that users get used to navigation, and then once they start using the features, they are happy. And also on the backend side, I mean, there it was clearly seen that administrators of the service were, I mean, it was more easy for them to use the service, to operate. They got better support. So there were many important factors with the new platform.
Oh, great. I mean, those all sound like very important improvements for the operators. Well, anyway, thank you, Marko, for sharing your very valuable insights. I'm sure our audience will find these success stories inspiring and informative. And before we wrap up, we encourage our listeners to download our white paper, aptly named Replacement of Legacy Platforms for IPTV and OTT Operators, available on our website. It provides a comprehensive overview of the legacy replacement process. We need to do a little bit of marketing as well. So yeah, that's I
Yeah.
wanted to hear. Mhm.
Yes, I mean, I think the white paper is quite a good starting point. So anybody who is thinking about potential replacement of their platform, this can guide them at the beginning and maybe show them some things that they need to consider or be aware of. And I hope that this white paper can help them in having a successful migration at the end.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Marko. Thank you for providing such insightful information and for joining us today in this podcast. As mentioned, I think that this kind of conversations are important, and basically for all operators to understand how actually they can benefit from this maybe complex projects, but actually something which might be a very good fit for them. Yeah.
Oh, I agree completely with you, Domagoj. I would just like to thank our listeners for tuning in. Stay connected with us on our LinkedIn page and subscribe to the UniqCast YouTube channel for more content related to video, streaming, and the latest industry trends. Until next time, keep innovating and exploring new possibilities in the world of IPTV and OTT.
Thank you, guys. Bye.